Welcome in. It's another NFL preview here on Sports by the Book, live at the South Point studio here at the South Point Hotel and Casino in lovely Las Vegas. And today we head to the Great White North of Minnesota here today. The Vikings up next for Alex White. Besides me, I'm Jeff Parles. And Alex, this is a team that was one win against the Lions away, whether it was earlier in the season or in week 18, from being the number one seed in the NFC and having the whole postseason go through Minneapolis. Instead, they lost twice to Detroit, and they exited in round one of the postseason after a meltdown by Sam Darnold those last two games, but a whole different look in Minnesota this year.
No, it really is. And at first thought, you're hearing a lot of the chatter and people are very high on the Vikings again. And first thought is, wait, they are a prime regression team. And then you dive in and you look at the roster, kind of do player power ratings and build up this team. And man, they really do have all the pieces there. I do like the changes, and it's just a matter of if they will all work together. So a lot of times when you're betting on teams, you like to have already seen it happen, right? But I think that they made just enough changes to where they can stay very competitive. And I think the sports books agree, where they have set a pretty high win total for a team that is going with a rookie that has not played an NFL game yet besides preseason and J.J. McCarthy.
So you just mentioned it. J.J. McCarthy takes over quarterback. You see the NFC North as a whole. Again, this is, by the numbers, the most competitive division in football. All teams with an 8.5 win total or better in the NFC North. The Vikings come in at 9.5, juiced under. They're plus. They're not plus money to make the playoffs anymore. They were for a little, but now it's a coin flip here at the South Point at minus 110. They're plus 375 to win the North, 9-1 to win the NFC, and then 20-1 to win it all. And you know, Alex, I'd hate to be simplistic in my perception of this Minnesota team. But kind of like last year, where I don't think anyone in our wildest dreams thought they'd win 14 games. And I thought even if this goes well, all right, maybe they win 11. Darnold is in competition for comeback player of the year. He's going to get a big contract somewhere else. That ended up happening. He's obviously in Seattle. Now you have McCarthy, who is essentially a rookie. Yeah, he technically played in a preseason game last year, but there was never even close to any real reps during the regular season because of the meniscus tear. He was on IR the whole year. So now you go into the year with essentially a rookie quarterback. Justin Jefferson has been banged up in training camp as well with a hammy, so that could linger for Minnesota. A defense that I think is slightly improved from a year ago, which they had as good of a pass rush as anyone when they were right last year at the beginning of the year. Their defense fell off as the year went along, but still a top half defense going in. But Alex, it is just with this schedule where you play the AFC North in your cross games, you have the NFC East, which is not a horrible draw, but there are two difficult games in there. It's all going to come down to how does the essentially the rookie quarterback and J.J. McCarthy play. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm getting out of J.J. McCarthy at the NFL level, Alex.
And to your point, Jeff, going back to last year, I did kind of summarize and just say, how can they be that bad when they have so many weapons? And here they are again, just stacked, and they have everybody around J.J. McCarthy to be successful. And they upgraded in both lines. Justin Jefferson, I believe, is the best wide receiver in the league right now. And that hamstring definitely concerns me. And we have to make sure that we keep an eye on that because, you know, the coaches want to really keep it quiet until they absolutely have to, right? But then Jordan Addison and Jalen Naylor coming off a great year, just on 28 catches, 22 first downs, and 6 touchdowns for him. I like the addition with Ty Felton coming from Maryland, who set records there with 96 catches last year. So I do think he has the wide receivers. I do like Aaron Jones, and now they bring in Jordan Madison to help take some of the carries, which we saw him in San Francisco. He was very good. He's a bigger back than Aaron Jones to help add to that. So that's just on the offensive side. And I think their defense is going to be better than their offense, to be honest. I think that is going to be the core. Of course, we know that Flores has been there, we're waiting to see if he gets another head coaching job, but he's an awesome defensive coordinator. So like what we saw from him last year, and now he's going to switch up the defense a little bit. But anything else offensively that you want to hit on first?
So new looks on the offensive line. That's the other concern that I have where, you know what? The O-line by the end of last year was just ravaged with injuries and just didn't play well down the stretch, even though they still won games until the Detroit game and then the butt whipping they took at the hands of the Rams in the wild card round. So they draft Donovan Jackson, going to be their starting left guard.
Yep.
They sign Ryan Kelly. Sign Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly's looked at as a high-end center, who with the Colts for his whole career until now. Bring in Will Fraze from Indianapolis as well, probably going to be your starting right guard day one. Of course, you still have Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw on the outsides. We know when Darrisaw is on the field, Darrisaw is as good as any left tackle as there is in football. So for me, this is just a matter of health, more so on that O-line. I think this O-line is capable of being a vastly improved unit from a year ago. But Alex, all of this comes back to the quarterback, where I just don't know. And look, it's funny because J.J. McCarthy won a national championship in Michigan. He had to lead them down the field against Alabama in the semifinal in order to get that game into overtime. I never fully was, whenever you watched McCarthy at Michigan, maybe this is just the way that Jim Harbaugh's Michigan teams played when he was there. But I never thought, oh, this guy's going to be a legitimate NFL starting quarterback. I never thought that. But he's with the right coach. Kevin O'Connell has proven already that Kevin O'Connell can coach quarterbacks at a high level. Saw Kirk Cousins play at a high level with him. Saw Sam Darnold play the best football of his career by margin last year with Kevin O'Connell.
Saw Joshua Dobbs
Dobbs looked like a reasonable quarterback for a few weeks under Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, 100%. The year where after the Cousins Achilles ruptured, the whole mess he had up there. But in the end, I have to, one of these NFC North teams is going to go finish under 500. One of them is going to go 8-9. Minnesota, to me, is the most likely to finish 8-9 because they have the least trustworthy quarterback. And I know that may seem odd to some with Caleb Williams is staring at you right there. Okay, Caleb Williams has a 17-game sample size. J.J. McCarthy has a 0-game sample size. So I think that matters, especially, again, we talked about in the Bears preview how much we love Ben Johnson. We expect him to hit the ground running and be a big-time head coach right away. If he isn't, then yes, then Caleb Williams could very easily be the worst quarterback in this division for the second consecutive year. But in the end, Minnesota is the one team, and you look at that schedule, and they have the weird scheduling quirk where they play back-to-back Euro games. Yeah. First team in NFL history to play in back-to-back weeks in two different countries that don't feature the United States in it. Very odd one. They go Ireland against Pittsburgh, and then they go to London to play the Browns. They have they have 4 single window standalone games the first 5 weeks. They go Monday night, Sunday night, then the Bengals, which actually is a really good game, week 3. And then they go the early morning games for us in the States. You got to get out to a good start in that high-pressure, single-window schedule for a rookie quarterback. If the Vikings get out 3-2, I think Minnesota's in great shape. They get out 3-2, all right, you know what? Maybe they are a playoff team yet again. They get out anything worse than that, you come out of the bye week and you go Philadelphia at the Chargers on a short week, at the Lions, Baltimore, Chicago, at Green Bay, at Seattle, Washington. Oh my God. I mean, that is, after the bye week, they play one game where I am like, all right, they are definitely going to win this game. And that's week 16 against the Giants. It is a brutal, brutal, brutal schedule. Now, as you mentioned, they're more than talented enough on offense. If McCarthy's good to be okay, they're more than talented enough. They've at worst the second or third best wide receiver in the NFL when he's healthy in Justin Jefferson. They have, assuming Jordan Addison doesn't have anything with the off the field issue that's going on right now, they have a high-end number 2 wide receiver in Jordan Addison. They have a great pass-catching tight end in TJ Hawkinson when he's healthy. They have all the weapons in order to compete. I'm just concerned that schedule post-bye week is crazy. And if J.J. McCarthy hasn't fully come in and ingrained himself to the NFL through the first 5 games, that scares me that there could be a stretch where they lose 6 out of 7. They lose 5 out of 6, and it's going to be very hard in this division, in this conference. If you lose 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7, it'll be very hard to recover this go-around, Alex.
Hey, it's a very fair worry because that is a very tough schedule as of right now. What we know from these teams going into this year, just looking at it, it looks brutal. But I am glad you brought up the Indy players that will be on the O-line because they were a huge part of why the Colts were so successful on the ground, and that's a part that they really struggled with last year. They were tied for 19th in rushing yards, and that is the part that they want to get going to help J.J. McCarthy. So, as I mentioned, they've really tried to upgrade to help him be successful. I want to dive into the defensive side a little bit because I do find it very fascinating where we will see some changes on the defense that was very good last year. I mean, right there, dead middle, 16th in total defense, second against the run, but 28th against the pass. So, they wanted to make some changes there. And we know with Brian Flores, high blitz, right? And he led the league last year in 38.9. But this year, they've kind of upgraded in the interior. And I brought it up on another preview. But looking at last year's Super Bowl with what the Eagles did, 16 pressures, 6 sacks, not a single blitz, right? And 10 of those 16 pressures came from the interior defensive linemen. I think a lot of people are starting to realize how important and crucial that is. And I think it's great of Flores to adapt. And I think that's very important in the NFL because it is always adapting. So I'm very curious to see what we get from them. Now, we do see some changes in the secondary as well. A lot of changes, actually. It'll probably be a new look. Isaiah Rodgers coming over, former Eagle, Murphy Jr., and Harrison Smith will still be there. But yeah, I like this defense to really be able to keep them in games.
So corners, it could very easily be a new look starting corners in a non-nickel set with Isaiah Rodgers and Jeff Okudah coming over from Houston as the other one. And then you mentioned the interior lineman. Jonathan Allen comes over from Washington. Commanders and Allen couldn't agree to a contract extension. He comes over to Minnesota. And then Javon Hargrave, who we saw on those Super Bowl losing San Francisco teams as a key piece, comes over as well. So, and along with Harrison Phillips, who was already there, you got 3 giant bodies leading a 3-4 defense there. And then, of course, they still have Van Ginkel and Grenard, Cashman and Pace, as good of a linebacking core as there is in the NFL. So, look, I just wish I trusted J.J. McCarthy. I really do. I really wish I trusted him going into this year because when you bring up the rest of the roster, like, whoa, this is an 11-win roster.
Right.
11, even in a very difficult division, it's an 11, 12-win roster. But in the end, I think McCarthy struggles year one. That's why I like Minnesota go under 9.5 wins. They could still make the playoffs at 9-8, so I don't want to do a no on the postseason, especially if Dallas underachieves again, if Washington takes a step back, and actually, most importantly, if those NFC West teams, if only one team really comes to the forefront out west, the path is there for a 3-bid NFC North again with a 9-8 team getting in, as opposed to last year where everyone had with double-digit wins plus in the NFC postseason. But Minnesota under is my favorite play here, just because I just do not trust the quarterback. One other note I have to make, because I made it earlier. Do not bet J.J. McCarthy to be the comeback player of the year. Do not do it. He's not coming back from anything. I understand that he was injured. Sure, he's technically coming back from injury. J.J. McCarthy has 0 career snaps. It's not even like Joe Burrow when he won after coming back from the ACL tear his rookie year. Joe Burrow at least played double-digit games that year. J.J. McCarthy has 0 career NFL regular season snaps. Don't bet it. Bet, again, we've talked about this with other teams. If Aiden Hutchinson plays at a high level and gets through the whole season, Aiden Hutchinson's winning this award. But do not bet J.J. McCarthy at 10-1. They're just taking money from you if you bet that.
Do you think it's fair to say J.J. McCarthy was more of like a game manager in Michigan? And
that's how I viewed him, yeah.
Could you see him being like a Brock Purdy with San Francisco, especially with all of these?
Look, it's more than possible. Again, I just, with the way that schedule is built, I'm just concerned that a game manager is not good enough here. Now, if the schedule turns out to be easier, game manager is more than good. Again, this Minnesota team is loaded talent-wise. You mentioned it. I mean, look at those pass catchers. Look at those players on the offense. That's even with a backfield that I don't particularly love Aaron Jones at this point in his career, but Aaron Jones produced last year. Jordan Mason, when he played in San Francisco, produced. They have Ty Chandler is still a little bit of an infuriating player to me, but that's a different discussion for a different time. But this Minnesota team is good. They are super talented, Alex.
I will just say though, I have them penciled in for 9 wins, so
Okay,
I
so
don't
they're right
have
on
a
it.
play. I think it is right on. I actually would be almost more intrigued to take a little bit if it gets to plus money for them to miss the playoffs, because I do think that they are below. And I mean, this sounds lazy, and of course there are going to be moves, but I mean, how the books have it, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago is how I see this division finishing, and I know that that's no fun. And of course, there's going to be major upsets and teams that get better and teams that fall off. But that's right where my power ratings are for those 4 teams in this division, and I see Detroit and Green Bay probably making it to the playoffs. So that's the only thing I could kind of get behind. But other than that, I mean, that 4,000 passing yards is intriguing because we know with Kevin O'Connell, he's always had a quarterback. But I don't really see that either. I don't really want to buy into that. I do think that they are going to be a better run team this year and be a little bit more balanced. So I'm not going to jump there either.
Yeah, again, it's a big downgrade, but we've also already seen this in the Kevin O'Connell area. Of course, the luck box season of luck box seasons back in 22.
Yep.
And then they regressed and went under 500 the following year. So
Yeah.
they weren't as lucky as they were a year ago, as they were in that season. They were good. They were genuinely, maybe they were closer to an 11 or a 12 win team than a 14 win team, but they were still a bona fide good playoff team. O'Connell, by the way, on the coach of the year perspective, is down the board at 50-1. Not much of a shock. I think for him, it is very difficult to see a path after what happened a year ago in the coach of the year market. All right, that's the Vikings. We're about halfway home in these previews, so we have plenty more to get to in these NFL previews. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel Sports by the Book here on YouTube. Make sure you're following us across social media at Sports by the Book, LV on Instagram, Sports by the Book everywhere else. If you're a first-time watcher, hope you enjoyed what you have. You can watch us Monday through Friday here on the channel Sports by the Book, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central, Monday through Friday for the best in sports betting every single day. Live as always from the South Point studio here at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. She's Alex White. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you next time. This has been another NFL preview for the 2025 season.